wrong. As I mentioned to you that I was going to change it in my notes. Oh, okay, sorry about that. Of course, Garrett is so famous, I thought maybe I needed an introduction, but I thought I'd mention a couple things about him. He is a dedicated grandparent, husband to his wife Diane. He and Diane have served many times as Mr. and Mrs. Claus for the Vermont Chamber and other organizations. He's been a council member since January of 2009. And I can honestly say, having been in some meetings with local government finance folks, Garrett understands taxes in Indiana better than most of them. And I definitely am sure he understands taxes much better than just about anybody in our state legislature. Without further ado, Garrett Freeze.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I like to show things from a visual perspective. So anyway, I want to talk to you today about what's happening in Jasper County taxation. And I'm getting into the total package in 2016 because there's a lot of things that go into this. And as John talked about a little bit, just full disclosure, I've been a resident here in Jasper County since 1979, living in Vermont. Jasper County constantly elected in 2008. And blah, blah, blah down there. Optometrist by profession. I'm retired now since September of 2014. And I own and I develop some rental properties. And that plays a part in what I'm going to be talking about. I don't own farmland, but yet I do own residential land that falls into taxes. Have been married 42 years, but one benefits from the current tax structure, but it's unjust and it hurts so many families. And that's why I feel called upon to talk about it as one involved on the county council. Always remember, county government services are financed through a combination of property tax and income tax. It's that total package that we deal with one side or the other. If one goes down, the other's going to go up and vice versa. Who pays more, who pays less? It all depends upon taxable property that you may own and what type of property, but also the taxable income that you claim that cannot be written off in any way. How much money are you being taxed on? Some history here in Jasper County that leads up to where we are now. Early days, property tax was the sole source of Jasper County revenue. 1974, Indiana created what's called the Cadget. It was mainly for property tax relief. 87, 89, two more local income taxes were created, the COIT and the CEDIT. COIT added some revenue for general spending, the CEDIT for other type of projects. And Jasper County now has only two of those, the Cadget and the CEDIT. So that's something you might see in your taxes in different ways then too. In 06, the jail was being put together. So there was a special tax, the jail Cadget 0.25% used to build it and to continue to operate, and that still goes on today. So the scorecard in 06, we had a total of 1.5% income tax because of the Cadget, the CEDIT, and the special jail Cadget. So in 07, the state legislature created 3 new local option income taxes, so that's why in the news and the papers now you always hear LOITs. That's the letters for that. And there was 3 of those. ABC, or LOIT A, we call the growth factor. Now what that means is that the county council could decide to pay for each year's increase in the operating budget with higher income taxes instead of property taxes. So every year, of course, you know there's going to be an increase, everything does go up. So will that be paid by property or by income tax? LOIT B, they could adopt an income tax of up to 1% to be used dollar for dollar, or at least that's what they said, and that's what I want to talk about to you today, because there's much more to that than dollar for dollar. Then distribute the tax relief in 3 ways: to all property owners, to homeowners only, or to homeowners and rental housing owners, or a mix of the three. They could do that, but they didn't think about that. They weren't informed about that back in '07. Well, let's see if these first two were adopted. They could also adopt a quarter-point income tax to pay for public safety expenses, police, fire, and medical care. This was seen as a way to further shift revenue dependency away from property tax and more to income tax, which really makes a lot of sense. It really does. People are making money, who do make money, can pay more tax. It would make sense. Now, the benefits, it has an attractive sound because local governments can diversify their revenue sources to a couple different things besides just property. Reduces property tax burden, it's a nice thing. Provides larger tax base for even people who rent that or own no property. They can contribute to their income taxes because they live here. They use the services. It's not hampered by tax collection delays because it comes right out of your paycheck immediately, and less chance of reaching the tax cap limits, which, as you may know, it's the 1%, 2%, 3%, 1% on residential, 2% on rental property and farmland, and 3% on businesses, commercial. So, the county council at the time went all the way to the highest levels they could go. The limit A, low A, they went to 0.3%, that's the max they were allowed. Property tax relief, 1%, and the public safety, 0.25%. They didn't have to go that high. They could have gone in increments of 0.05, but they went to the highest they could, and that's what they decided to put into play. So, you know, things sound so good sometimes when you first look at it. My role as county councilman was to look at the other side to see really what's all involved in every aspect of that. And that can be surprising sometimes when you look at the back end of it all. So, first of all, they increased the county income tax by 203.33%. So anybody that was paying tax, income tax, their paycheck, suddenly it increased to 203.33%. Well, that was a jolt, big time jolt on people. Well, already now, each year will bring an automatic increase in the income tax if you adapted that, up to, when you put them all together, the max would be 3.75% total. Now, can you imagine your income tax going all the way up to 3.75? We put a stop to that because it just was an astronomical increase. Low at C, that was good because that's public safety, and you spread that around. Low at B, well, that was full of holes. And so let me show you a few things about that. Low at B, sold upon the promise of reduction of property tax dollar for dollar. My question, whose? Yours? In other words, you're going to contribute what's going to be extracted from your paycheck every time is a portion's going to go to low at B income tax, and then they say, well, that's going to be applied to your property tax. No, it's not just yours. So let me show you. What the county council decided to do was distribute 100%, all they took in from low at B, to all property taxpayers. Well, that's the key. All property taxpayers, because here's the thing, your low at B income tax pie is going to go some for you, some a cut for your neighbor's house, and I'll touch upon that in just a moment. And a good chunk is going to go to big gift to C corporations, because, surprise, C corporations do not pay into low at B. That's the big difference right there. They don't pay income tax like you do. And that was a big clincher in there. It's really not a fair system. This obviously surprised even the state legislature designers of these laws, because here it was, after this was actually adopted, they decided, they found that, hey, one of the corporations in Jasper County operated a large utility company, and I'll just go by the initials, NIPSCO. Okay, they're a C corporation, they pay nothing into the Low B credit fund, yet they would have sucked a gigantic amount of that property tax replacement credit out of the system, leaving almost nothing for you. Hastily, special legislation was initiated to keep NIPSCO from doing so. How they did that without being sued, I really don't know. Because we have pleaded now with Senator Hersham to prevent the others from receiving this. And so far it's of no avail. And Farm Bureau even agrees with us on this issue. Part of their platform, if you read, is do not allow any of these companies who do not pay into the Low B tax system to receive any tax credits. Because in 2015, each property owner, if you take a look at your own property tax bill, you do the math on it, you received a property tax replacement credit of 26.51% against your property tax liability. And you can go online, you can see all of these. My home, the gross tax liability on line 4 was $1,921.28. We've got a pretty nice home. My tax credit was $509.38. I paid into that because I was taxed on it. Monsanto, gross tax liability, $214,593.96. Their PTRC, $56,895.08. They paid nothing into that. You did. They paid absolutely nothing. Donaldson, $183,751.68 was their tax liability. The credit they got, $48,717.90. There's a whole slew of these online. All you got to do is look online. Check it out. Some of your tax from O&P is going to your neighbor's tax liability if it's a bigger home. That's what I meant by a little cut for your neighbor. Here's a little home here, and you see a lot of homes about this size. Gross property tax bill, about $1,000 for round numbers. Their 26.51 tax credit, $265.10. Here's a house, nice one. Property tax bill, $2,200. They're getting $583.22. Does that mean that they paid more into that Low B, or this person paid less? No, it doesn't. Everything is distributed by that particular ratio. And that really just isn't a fair, just way. Dr. Larry DeBoer, he is a noted guru on these things. In fact, John and I, and Andy Andre, we just went to a seminar, it was a webinar this past Thursday. And this man is noted for how he dissects things when it comes to taxes and such that affect the state. He says in this one, everything is distributed in this way 100% to all taxpayers, even those who don't pay into the system. Farmers benefit more if the tax relief is distributed broadly, meaning to all. Okay? Now, corporate businesses do not pay individual income taxes, like I said, but they're getting that credit anyway. Now, they're not saying, oh, wait a minute, we don't want it here. I'll give it back to you. They're keeping it. But they can. I mean, it's not like they're stealing it. It's being given to them. It's just not right because that's your money. It affects everybody. Whatever business you're in, your money is going to those businesses. Retired homeowners are likely to benefit as they have low taxable income and own property. Well, that's me. So I should be happy. I should be jumping for joy. I'm retired and I own property. Employed renters are going to pay more because they're just paying their income tax. They get no really benefit from low property tax other than if their landlord doesn't jack up their rent. Rental housing owners will benefit, and that includes me. I own 4 duplexes. My property taxes are kind of low from that. But I just don't think this is right. All of you here will pay more in total taxes when the tax relief is distributed to all taxpayers. Most homeowners will pay less in total taxes when the tax relief is distributed to homesteads only. And that's an option the county council had, and we still have, but boy, it just ruffles a lot of feathers when you bring that up. An owner of business property or any property in the county by not living here still going to get the tax benefit because they own property, but they're not contributing one dime either. So hopefully they're saying thank you to you. In 2013, in a unanimous vote, it took us a number of years to kind of work toward this, but the county council reduced the jail special gadget by 0.1% to drop it to 0.15. Roll B, we reduced it by 0.05 to become 0.95 for a total income tax reduction of 0.15. So that was a real positive step, we felt. In 2015, by a vote of 4-2, county council reduced the vote B by another 0.1% because that's all we're allowed to go if we're going to reduce, and it's now 0.85. So now it stands at 2.864 from the high of 3.114, which it was at its highest. How does Jasper County compare to its closest neighboring counties? This is just for a quick comparison. Pulaski, of course, is number 1. We are now number 3 as far as highest. But you do the comparison with all of our neighbors, so people, if they're going to move into Jasper County, they are going to have to do a comparison if they're in any way a savvy buyer. And like in the north end here, we're going to face people from Porter, from Newton, and from Lake, and that's what they compare to. Now, granted, they are going to pay higher property tax. That's true. Across the state, top 3, Pulaski, Wabash, and Jasper, 2.864. But the average is 1.55. Across the state, that's the average. Now, we do have a low property tax, and I don't want to ignore that. I mean, that is a real plus. There's no question about it. But for those who own a lot of land, that's a great thing. However, they still will be paying through the nose for income tax unless they have creative ways to hide the income. Because why else would they possibly want that? If they're going to have a lot of income to claim, they're going to be nailed with income tax. So there must be some creative ways to do it, I suppose. For those who have little or no property and families with 2 working parents, they will be clobbered by the income tax and no or little benefit from low property taxes at all. What's this doing to Jasper County? I've seen it, heard it. Young families, 2-wage earners, small home are paying a substantial income tax being used to subsidize large corporations and others' big homes. Those considering a home purchase, moving into Jasper County, are walking away. We hear that from a lot of the real estate agents up north. I think maybe we get affected by that a little bit more than we do down here in the central or in the southern part of Jasper County, but we hear that all the time. Well, it is causing a real imbalance in who is paying for the services and who is getting away scot-free. It's just not right. I think the batteries are but that's okay. I'll keep going. The foolishness here is that if a county is depending so greatly on income tax to fund services, and the rate is so high as to frighten upper income earners away, eventually all that's left is low-income earners paying little income tax. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense to keep the services going. And those with the expertise of hiding income pay almost nothing. Tax revenue is going to decline as income tax is so uncertain from year to year. Property tax will then have to increase. There's no other option because you have to pay for the government services in some way through those 2 means. What can be done to improve? Well, we talked about this now for a number of years. I know in the county council, pay off the jail as soon as possible. It's going to save interest, allows us to drop the jail gadget probably even a little further, but we can't do that until 2017. We've investigated that in the past couple of years because of the bonds and all sorts of things. It cannot even happen until 2017. We have that as our goal. Thank you. Change the distribution of the lower B. It's going to reduce the property tax replacement credit to those entities not contributing. It increases it to homesteads. Reduce the tax rates. Cadget, lower B. It's going to make Jasper County more attractive. And my goal personally would be reduce the jail to 0.10 because we still have to maintain things. We can't just eliminate it. And lower B, I would like to reduce that all the way to 0.5 if I'm allowed to. But anyway, that would be my goal. And prevent C corporations from receiving any of that property tax replacement credit. So anyway, that's what I'll be talked about. And John, my colleague here, is going to be talking to you about a few more things. He said 10 minutes, otherwise he puts himself to sleep. So we'll see if that happens.
I don't think we have that much time, but I'll just talk about a couple really important things. I was going to ask a good friend of mine to introduce me, but I figure, shy as I am, and humility is my greatest virtue. Plus, I would rather go on. Come on, stop saying nice things about me, Brad. Anyway, you might have read in the paper editorial from a senator claiming that the craziness of reducing the income tax cost $1 million in property tax relief. Unfortunately, we're not from Indianapolis, so we can't just throw stuff up against the wall and see if it sticks. And we actually went to the state of Indiana's budget official agency, and since 2013, when we reduced the tax to 2016, we're collecting $1.5 million more in actual income tax, which goes to reduce property taxes, because that stuff all adds in. Additional $522,000 in property tax relief credit, and additional $322,000 in low B, which means we have collected $2.4 million more, not $1 million less. Again, $3.4 million difference, which I guess for Indiana government work is a small number, but kind of important to us. And you're going to ask, how did you guys do that? Well, a while back, there was this crazy guy, I don't think you ever heard of him in Indianapolis, who said if tax rates are too high, you can actually reduce rates, and by growing the tax base, increase revenue. And it turned out that crazy guy named President Ronald Reagan was right. Now, we're not taking all of the credit for the reduction in the rate, leading to a big increase in tax collected on a lower rate, which should ultimately keep everyone's property taxes lower. But I'm sure that wasn't part of it, because people that were going to buy land in Jasper County, build a home, probably a nice home, maybe pay a couple $1,000 a year in property tax, maybe $100,000 family income, paying roughly $3,000 a year in income tax. Realtors and billers, especially in the north end, can tell you they had people that canceled the deal when they found out how much of a bite the county was going to be taking out of their paycheck. So instead of getting $3,114 in income tax from somebody, we're only going to get, if they actually end up moving here, $2,864 plus a couple $1,000 in property tax. And again, this is Jasper County math, different from apparently Indy math, but $4,300 some of something sounds like a lot more than 100% of nothing. So we stand behind our decision. We think President Reagan was right in not taking all the credit, but I'm sure if tax collections had gone down, we'd be getting beaten like a rented mule for the fact that collections went down. So I guess we could take some credit from going up. There's a couple of things that are going to have a big impact potentially on your property tax. Many of you heard of the dark box issue. Myers down in Indianapolis, the brand new Myers, and if you've ever been in Myers, the stores are huge, they're packed, there's long lines at the checkout counters and profits rolling in. Myers said they felt they should be assessed the same way as the abandoned Kmart down the road that has a collapsed roof, that because of the covenants and the lease agreement can never be rented to another retail agency, they feel they should be assessed the way that so-called dark box is. Senator Hirschman says that's going to cost all of us, $300 million. The Indiana State Tax Court ruled in Myers' favor. So there is a real chance that's going to happen. And of course, it's ridiculous because the point is, Myers is saying in their brand new story is basically worthless. If you went to them and said, hey, I will pay you for that new store, what you say the value is, it's just value. They would go, you're crazy, it's worth 20 times that much. We wouldn't sell it to you for that. Oh, but by the way, we should be taxed that way. We also have the farmland tax mess, which has been going on for years. And the legislature every year promises to fix it. Now, we went from like $800, say, per acre to $2,000. Devastated farmers, and the tax system basically is making them pay now for the good years they had like 6 years ago. Legislature said, hey farmers, we're doing you a big favor. We're going to go ahead and freeze that rate. Of course, it's the sky high rate. And we're going to put in our legislative fix. Can't go up more than 1% a year. Now, Dr. Larry DeBoer, as Garrett mentioned, that guru on taxes, in the Indiana Constitution, it says that any basis that you charge property taxes on has to be totally objective. That 1% cap that the legislature put in, most people think is going to be well unconstitutional. Now, it may get them reelected in the next election, but if after the election that is thrown out and we go back to sky-high increases in property taxes, you don't really fix something that isn't actually fixed. Now, I also think it's ironic that telling farmers, we did you a giant favor locking our rate in, because if we had another 2 years under our system, we would have been assessed at $3,000 an acre. That would have been another 50% increase. So we did you, look at all the money we're saving you. That's kind of like a guy mugs you, takes all your money and says, be grateful, because I was going to mug you tomorrow and take all your money, and mug you the day after and take all your money, but I'm only mugging you today. So you need to be grateful for all the money I saved you by not mugging you the next 2 days. And I guess you're supposed to go, well, thank you very much. As the arguments to C corporations are sucking out a giant amount of your property tax relief, I actually talked to Senator Hirschman about that. Said it's not fair, it's not right. He says our hands are tied. This is in one of those, meetings they have. We have to give it to everybody. I said, Senator Hirschman, how did you keep NIPSCO from sucking out 40% of the property tax relief in Jasper County? If you could keep them from getting it, why can't you keep Walmart and Monsanto? Next question, please. So in other words, there is no answer other than we're being told if we shower these corporations with all this free money, this corporate welfare, crony capitalism, we're going to have this huge increase in high paying future jobs. Yet our average future income has been going down every year. Matter of fact, dropping faster than those poor folks in Illinois we're supposed to feel so sorry for. So in other words, I don't think it's working. Now, Garrett and I and Andy Andre are always very pro-business, we're pro-growth, but we also think you need to be realistic and fair. These places are taking our money, but it's like carrier air conditioning. They're taking all their Indiana jobs to Mexico. And they have gotten all kinds of tax breaks and incentives and just on and on and on. But I think I heard their CEO, as he rides off into the Mexican sunset, suppose he's going to turn around and give us a cheery wave and a hi-ho Hoosier, thanks for all your silver. Kind of like, the masked man is not a good guy in this case, but actually is a bandit who's taking our money. So we just think we need to be fair, be pro-business, but we're also